greetings to Gambians, greetings to Africans, by extension, wherever you are, under the sound of my voice. Today marks another fresh edition of the program, The Conversation, that comes away on Zambian's VIP Magazine, VIP TV, here in the Republic of the Gambia. And this is a platform that is meant to speak on social, moral, economic, and political issues affecting our one continent and finding some of the best ways forward to ameliorating these concerns, should I say, challenges. And for today's edition of The Conversation, we are very honored, should I say, very, very privileged to be in a distance conversation with a young Liberian social commentator and an academician as well. Live from Monrovia, Liberia. He happens to be my own academic, should I say, philosophical son, having taught him English language and vocabulary at the infancy level of his academic sojourn, that is grade 7 and 8, some 14 years ago back home in Mama, Liberia. This is one of the proudest moments that anybody can have right now, as I am seated trying to listen to his expertise live from Monrovia, Liberia on Zambian's VIP Magazine, VIP TV. He is called young Moses Campbell Dennis. He is a graduating senior at the University of, should I say, Carterton University of Mama, Liberia, where he studies criminal justice with emphasis in history and international relations. He's going to be driving us through his early academic and professional life once we will have started this program shortly in at least a minute. Moses Campbell Dennis is going to offer his expertise on the different areas of national concern in Mama, Liberia, ranging from his understanding or his assessment and evaluation of Ambassador George Obama's administration so far. Liberia's 173 years of independence. Should we be smiling or should we be crying? And as well as the midterm senatorial elections in Liberia slated for 8th December of this year, not forgetting his own thoughts, or should I say, political strategies in selling his candidate, that is a former vice presidential candidate on the Unity Party ticket in the person of Honorable James Emmanuel Nkwe, who served once as the Speaker of the House of the National Assembly of Liberia. Why does he think he is the best candidate for the bid of Senator at Maggie County, Republic of Mama, Liberia? So this is your platform. Those on social media, follow now. There's an opportunity for you to share this platform, as we are going to be connected shortly with our guest live from Mama, Liberia. Like I say, constantly keep following Zambian's VIP Magazine, VIP TV, and it's with me, Tony Michael Howard, here on The Conversation, as we feature Moses Campbell Dennis live from Monrovia, Liberia. We are shortly going to be joined with our guest from Liberia. Keep watching. This is The Conversation here on Zambian's VIP Magazine, VIP TV. We're trying to get connected with our guest here live from Liberia, as he is expected to offer his expertise in the different areas here. I say greetings to Gambians, greetings to the Africans, wherever you are. Today is another very fresh edition of the program here, The Conversation, that comes up with on Zambian's VIP Magazine, VIP TV, here in the Republic of the Gambia. And like I said earlier, we're going to be live with Mr. Young Moses Campbell Dennis, live from Monrovia, Liberia, as he speaks to us on the different areas of our national concern. We are trying to get connected with India from Liberia. Yes, quickly, let me say greetings once more, greetings to Gambians, by extension, greetings to all Africans, wherever you are under the sound of my voice. Today is one of the blessed moments here on The Conversation of Zambian's VIP Magazine, VIP TV, here in the Republic of the Gambia. And for today's edition of The Conversation, we are joined by young Moses Campbell Dennis from Monrovia, Liberia, as he offers his expertise on the different areas of national concerns, ranging from the nation's 173 years of independence, as well as the midterm senatorial elections slated for 8th December. Not forgetting George Weah's administration. His own assessment, should I say, the evaluation. We are joined with him. Greetings to you, Mr. Dennis, and welcome to this platform.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Michael Howell. I think it's a wonderful time to be sharing wonderful thoughts with you on your platform. So I really feel very gratified by that. And I'd like to extend my heartfelt thanks and appreciation to the management and staff there of the Sembians TV and magazine program. I'm deeply moved terribly this afternoon to be joined live from Liberia.
It is more or less an honor. It's one of the best moments I can have right there. Those of you that are watching us from East Africa, for the purpose of what have a Pan-African spirit, those, somebody like a Pam Chida from Nairobi, Kenya, and Tanzania will say to you in the Swahili language, will say to you, Jumbo, Rabari yako, komfutanya yo zangu, nakupenda pia will say, asante kwa masada when you quit to see that is thank for supporting us. Asante kwa masada when you quit to see those in Rwanda, in the Ichigwanda language, I say to you, to my people over there, will say, Apagwanda, Napakunda, Moise, back in Freetown, Syria, to the Mendes speaking people will say, Kawina, that will say, BLOV. On the other hand, I say to you, Kai Gorman, to the Kono speaking people of the same Freetown, will say to you, Wente, to the Aku speaking people will say, Wanakusha to you, back in the Federal Republic of Nigeria, that's Africa's most popular nation, to Western Nigerians, that Yoruba speaking people that say to you, Baonisha, Baolomo Utudojumenta, will say to you, to Eastern Nigerians that comprises Igbo speaking people will say to you, one name number Ikaraka EGM, Chiku Abiyama, Amama Shiamashi Ushimiria Tata, Ikuime Chiku Kike, strengthen you all wherever you are under the sound of my voice. To the Hausa people in northern Nigeria that is predominantly Islamic will say to you, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, of course in Hausa language I say to you, Sanu Sanu, on the other hand I say to you, Sanu Edu. To the Gambian people, the Madinga say, Avaya, so going to go to the Gobeyadia, Famuke will say, you can back to the Walla Senangadef. Nakabijik the Manamuna Fati, the Manamusa Fati, I say to you, Nena doing that so Imadinga will say, well, this is your platform to the full as we say to you, Hiri Jamasude, Nalaga, on the other hand, I say to you, Jamton, I say to you, Meirima Moja, that is love you to the other much. To French-speaking Africans that comprises Cote d'Ivoire, Senegal, Guinea, Conakry, and the rest of our French-speaking nations of the continent will say to you, merci to this ball, support, say thank you. This is a conversation here on Sembians VIP Magazine VIP TV. We are joined with Mr. Moses Campbell Dennis live from Mama Liberia. Quickly, Mr. Moses Campbell Dennis, I want you to drive us through your early academic and professional life in a very concise form right now.
Well, thank you very much once again for this great opportunity, and I see it as an opportunity not just for me in particular, but also for my fellow young people in Liberia back home, and also those other Africans who may be listening to me at this time, sharing with you my thoughts on this platform. Well, whenever I'm asked such a question regarding my personal life, ranging from my academic and professional life as a young man, what always I say is that my life as a young man is morally, philosophically, and spiritually molded on the pieces of advice constantly received from my parents, friends, and other elderly people who often wish to see a young man like me daring to face the future with vision. And when I was growing up as a boy, there's something I learned really greatly from my grandfather, my mother's father, who passed out at the age of 125 years, and that was around 2019.
That's massive.
He often said to me, Mo, because he often called me Moses, and for sure he just used to say Mo. So he often said to me, Mo, in order for you to live for a longer time on earth, you must always do these things. And being humble, being obedient, being respectful, and very kind to a fellow man. And always, I never, this is something that I really never forget about. And I mean, I always take into consideration these things very greatly as a young man. And indeed, I quite remember this expression from my late grandfather very well, which I will never really forget. And interestingly, this advice, this expression of his, has really greatly helped me and encouraged me throughout my life as a professional, dedicated, serviceable, sacrificial, and a passionate young man. And I've always been very, very faithful and committed to this agenda of mine. And I know for sure that my late grandfather's spirit is really happy about such a thing, actually about my life. And As William Channing, a Unitarian clergyman, once said, and I quote, every human being you see has a character of his own.
Okay.
To be what no other can be and to do what no other can do.
Okay.
And as a professional man, as a young man coming up, I usually and consciously subscribe greatly to this philosophy of life. And I mean, I always feel inspired. And I remember way down the line, coming to my academic life, there've been people that I never really tend to forget about as I even go along my life as a professional young man. And some of those people like you, Mr. Michael Howell, who's interviewing me today, I feel quite excited about that. And somebody like you, I really can't forget about you because you play a very good role in my life too, in molding my mind, in helping me to challenge myself in the future. And beyond that, there have been other issues as well that I've always seriously considered in my life, being very passionate, being very humanistic, and that sense of deep, that very deep sense of humility has helped me a lot. And this is why even, that's one of the reasons why Socrates became one of the greatest philosophers ever in the world, in ancient Greece. And that's why when he was asked at one point in time, Socrates, what do you know? He said, I know nothing.
The only thing that I know is that I know nothing.
And consistently that has really helped me as a young man coming up.
Okay, that's beautiful from your Moses Campbell Dennis. Quickly, point at your academic sojourn, quickly, your elementary, junior high, senior high, university education, quickly, just in key classes for purpose of time.
All right. Well, with respect to my academic life as a young man, as a scholar, as a distinct scholar, as a dedicated man who's always willing to do something to improve academically and intellectually, to build my skills, my qualities. I started my primary education at 3 different junior high schools.
Okay, let's cleverly hear the names of those institutions.
Okay, the Presbyterian Tony Mission School, that is in rural Monrovia County.
Okay.
I also later I attended the Firestone Senior High School, the Firestone school system.
Okay.
And I later matriculated at the James F. Cooper Memorial Institute in my mother's home, my mother's native home.
Okay.
That is in Cooper's Farm, Monrovia as well. And I later progressed. Being very passionate about education and in my quest to become somebody in the future, I was able to enroll at the Overtown Public School and later at the E.J. Yancey Public School in Kakata, where you taught me vocabulary and English. Remember that?
Beautiful memories.
Also, indeed, definitely, I remember that.
Yeah.
And following my promotion to the 10th grade class, I enrolled at the Boca Washington Institute, BWI. It is a technical and vocational high school in Liberia.
Okay.
And where I spent 4 years, at which time I acquired a diploma in accounting and bookkeeping.
Okay.
And in other academic subject areas.
Okay.
And following that, not being content, very content, and embracing the future with vision as a young man, I decided to take on the challenge, and I finally matriculated at Carleton University in 2016, semester 2.
Okay.
And today I'm a graduating senior at Carleton University, and hopefully I should be obtaining my bachelor's degree in criminal justice with emphasis in history and international relations.
Professionally, what have you done? Professionally, what have you done, tell us?
Well, as it relates to my professional life, being a passionate, committed young man, and I've worked in different areas of my life. I've served in the area of volunteerism. I've worked in with different community dwellers and the rest of it. But interestingly, most importantly, I've been able, in fact, I started working at the age of 17, 18 years professionally.
Okay.
And with different groups. When I first served as the president of the Determined Youth Association of Liberia then, Magidi County chapter.
Okay.
And I later took on another challenge again I was even in high school when I started working with other radio stations around, like the Atlantic Radio in Calcutta, where I served as news director. That was then back in 2011 and 2012. And I later moved to another radio station within my Gibi County called Radio Bashu. And that was just following my graduation from high school. And I didn't stop there. I went to Cottington University. When I started school there, I was afforded the opportunity, and with that privilege, I was able to work in the news department as director of news. And on the basis of my commitment, and my commitment coupled with my passion to always execute entrusted tasks to me, I was able to transition to another place again. On the basis of that, the administration of Cottington University, the university, was able to grant me another opportunity to allow me to serve as media relations officer for the university, a position that I currently occupy, which is equivalent to the deputy public relations director of the university. So that's just a synopsis of my professional life as a young man.
That's beautiful there from our guest back home in Mama Liberia. We say to our audience of viewers that are following us on social media, we say a very big thank you to you. You can keep sharing this live video so that somebody has an opportunity to tap into this fountain of knowledge. A young man who has climbed a very huge height in his academic sojourn. My own philosophical son that I'm very proud to pronounce his name here, Moses Campbell Dennis. 14 years ago, he was my student at the very infancy level of his academic sojourn. And exactly 14 years after that, he is my guest right on International Wire. Now, Symbians VIP Magazine VIP TV, a platform that is meant to speak on social, moral, economic, and political issues affecting our one continent and find some of the best ways forward to ameliorating these challenges. To Wazunai Muslim and Angalai from Zimbabwe, to Lady Zakat of South Africa, to Lulu Tandu Zanga from South Africa, to Charles Izzard of Oxford, Musa Jamal of Oxford, Ida J, and all the viewers and supporters who support us. A huge salute to you as you join us right now on this conference. Quickly, your nation, my own country, Africa's oldest republic, Mama Liberia, shortly on the 26th of July, turned 173 years of independence. No nation on the entire continent, that's time to be corrected, that has celebrated 100 years of independence. But Liberia is 173 years of independence. Should we be crying or smiling? Is our long age of existence directly proportional to our level of development? Should we be crying or smiling?
Okay. Well, sometimes, in fact, this is an interesting question. Sometimes when I'm asked such a question as a young man, knowing the direction in which we are heading as a country and as a people, and looking at where we came from some years back, and like you just said, Liberia, as you are aware, is a home for free black slaves who were repatriated so many years ago. And when Liberia, the nation, gained her independence back in 1847, and as you may be aware, and like you clearly stated, Liberia is now 173 years in existence. But even as we reflect on this, there are so many fundamental questions that come to mind, to one's mind. And such as, what dividends, what prospects have we been able to acquire over the years? Or what sort of progress or progressivism can we boast of as a nation? I feel sometimes very sad about this. Even though I do not want to put myself in a position where I will altogether try to project a negative image of the country, but it is about confronting our existing realities. And this is something that is very difficult for you to find young people doing. When you try to confront the realities, other people see you as being very
antagonistic to the state.
Maybe see you as an enemy of progress of the state. But it is not necessarily so. As a young man, I think my humble duty is to be able to confront the realities,
of course,
so that history can judge me tomorrow.
Of course.
And now, an evidence of really knowing exactly the progress that we've been able to make over the 173 years now is to just probably examine the different sectors of our country, such as the agriculture sector, the educational sector, the health sector, and other very key sectors amongst the many other sectors of the country. And notwithstanding, in my mind, there are not really many that we can really boast of as a nation and as a people. And this can simply be attributed to the issue of bad leadership and poor governance, which is not very strange to many African countries. And there are those people, even though who came, they laid the foundation for others to follow. But it is quite saddening sometimes that most of our leaders really see leadership or government as a tool to enrich themselves, or lead at the detriment or expense of the people, which is very sad. And sometimes when I reflect on this as a young man, I mean, it really seriously baffles me or beats my imagination. And I really can imagine the level of, I mean, significant progress that we've been able to make as a country. And if I were to speak to that, I mean, honestly, obviously, I wouldn't really say that we have anything to really boast of as a nation and as a people. Looking at our country being in existence for 173 years, I mean, it is very sad. It is extremely sad.
So, judging from the deductive point of view, that means that you will concord with me that we should not be smiling, instead we should be crying and bend our heads down in the midst of all other nations on the continent of Africa, not so?
Well, definitely, this is not something that we should be smiling about, because if we tend to smile about that, our forefathers and those who came before us, I mean, would never be happy about our smile or our happiness, because I mean, we have nothing to boast of at the moment. But what we can say is that we're just still hoping, and we're very prayerful that things will change, certainly, as we all endeavor to embrace the future with vision. But at the moment, I don't think it is something that we should be very much happy about.
Mr. Dennis, Mr. Dennis, not to quote you, this has been going on since Joseph J. Roberts, Stephen Allen Benson, Dana B. One, Jim Espin, all of the presidents of the Republic of Liberia since 1847. And what do you think is missing on the political mortgage market of Mama Liberia that has resulted to such a negative result and effects to a country that is quite too old, very poor, with nothing to show?
Okay. What I see quite amazing in our country is the fact that an agenda, a political agenda, has not been formulated that will tend to reflect the dreams and aspirations of the people. And in other words, that instrument, that avenue should have been created in my mind that will really change the situation or shape the paradigm, because we cannot continue always with the same things over and over and again. And if we continue to do the same, we will obviously not yield different results. And I mean, this is the thing missing. Until we realize that, until we realize our potential, it means that we go nowhere. And this is something that I think that should be articulated or should be projected through the country, so that people can begin to understand where we are, where we should go, and I mean, so that we can know exactly who we are. So I think there is something that lost revolutionary values. That value has to be restored. Our lost revolutionary values have to be restored, and I think that's the only way positively we can be able to really make a change. That's exactly what I think.
Thank you very much for those who are just joining us right now. You get a live conversation here from young Moses Campbell Dennis, live from Monrovia, Liberia, as he offers his expertise on the different areas of concern in Mama Liberia, ranging from his own thoughts on our independence of our 173 years of independence. And we're talking about the midterm senatorial election, his own assessment, should I say, evaluation of our Ambassador Weah's leadership of Mama Liberia. Why does he think the former vice presidential candidate to the Unity Party, Honorable James Emmanuel Nkwe, is the best candidate for the senatorial bid for Maggie County, Mama Liberia? Just in case you want to drop your comment, I won't be searching on Facebook right now. You can drop your comment on Facebook, and then you can also do the same on WhatsApp here on +220 2696351, and that is +220 2696351. If you, just in case you have a question for Mr. Dennis, drop your question on that WhatsApp number that says +220 2696351. Quickly, Moses Dennis, With the emergence of the COVID-19 that is slapping and ripping the faces of nations, how is life in Mama Liberia?
Indeed, life is quite difficult for most of our people in this country, especially those who sometimes feel that they have no hope in our society, those who feel left out, those who feel that they are underprivileged or that are disadvantaged. So, I mean, life is quite difficult and has been very difficult since the outbreak of the coronavirus pandemic, since over 4 to 5 months ago. I mean, it's quite very difficult. And as you may be aware, Liberia has recorded a number of 1,230 confirmed cases. Plus 3 new cases, 705 recovered cases, and 3 new, that's about a little over 78, 79 deaths. And so, these, nevertheless, there are measures that have been instituted. There are measures that have been instituted by the government of Liberia through the National Public Health Institute of Liberia and the Ministry of Health and Social Welfare in line with international health protocols that are being observed by citizens throughout the country. And by that, I wish to express my deepest gratitude and appreciation in the first place to the World Health Organization, WHO, and other national and international partners for the concern and support in the sustained fight against the COVID-19 pandemic that has become so detrimental, not just only to Liberia, but the entire world. And at the moment, all Liberians understand the devastating effects that this COVID-19 disease has caused for our economy and other key areas in both the private and public sectors, considering the prolonged closure of most business institutions, companies, and other individual businesses across the country that usually contribute to the generation of government's revenue. And indeed, I mean, this situation has actually slowed our nation's economy to a very great extent, something which I believe requires our government's efforts and focus in order to get back on track. But despite these prevailing circumstances, we are of the conviction as a nation and as a people that our country will soon get back on to normalcy. As we remain very hopeful, very prayerful.
When you say we are with the conviction that this country gets back on her feet to normalcy, so to speak, how do you reconcile that with members of the ruling political party having the funeral of should I say the late young is it, how do you call her? Young blood, young blood. And some of them are not even observing some of the health protocols. They don't have a mask on their faces. I was speaking to some Magibians last night on social media. I expressed my disappointment seeing group gathering in the name of our midterm campaign policies and what have you, without masks on their face. And they were in turn telling me what happened to your Congress for Democratic Change members, attributing it like if they do that, then we too can go in the street without masks on our face, forgetting to understand the negative result and effect of the disease on the very selves at the end of the day. When will Liberians get very serious with processes?
Indeed, these are existing challenges that we are combating as a nation, as a people, especially with the role the government strategically is playing. But these are challenges that altogether we cannot really divorce ourselves from, simply because these things will always exist. These are unforeseen circumstances, and sometimes people will even converge in mass public gathering. And unfortunately, seeing people who work within the government and who are even championing this cause still, I mean, to some extent are breaching the health protocols, which is sad. But I don't want to really drag any of them into that. But I mean, sometimes we should be conscious enough because we know exactly the dangers associated with this virus. So this is not something that we think people should really overlook or try to underestimate. And we know exactly the history of these pandemics in our country, reflecting on Ebola the Ebola virus here in Liberia in 2014. We know the number of people who lost their lives. We know exactly the pains, the frustrations that the Ebola caused for us. So we are aware that, I think, to some extent, people will attempt, I'm saying will attempt sometimes to try to break or breach the health protocols. But even as that, we will not give up. We as conscious-minded people will continue to flag these things out. This is why I said to you initially that it is difficult sometimes to confront our realities. And if you try to confront our existing realities, other people look at you otherwise. But I know that for sure with the efforts, the intervention that others are making, nationally, internationally, we are very hopeful that, some of these things will be brought under control. And as you said, having state funerals, even though it was important to have the funeral of somebody who was a state woman, somebody who contributed very immensely to the growth and development of our country, especially being a representative. But that does not in any way speak to the fight or suggest that, people should try to breach the health protocols, especially people from within the ruling establishment. That was two sides. But we're just hoping that, such acts wouldn't be really repeated, simply because this is something that is a global crisis, the virus that we have to fight. And this is not something that we should overlook as a country and as a people. So, I just would like to use this media now to send maybe a message to them so that we all can be more careful. If we were careful in the past, we should be more careful, I think, this time. So that we all can see how best this situation can be remedied in our country.
Okay, that's beautiful. Those of you that just joined us on social media right now, we'll say to you very big thank you. Then keep sharing this live video so that somebody has an opportunity to tap into, like I described, in a very fountain of knowledge, that I said, a walking encyclopedia. Moses Campbell Dennis from Mama Liberia. Mr. Dennis, we're going to have you at least a minute break. And after which we will connect with you right away. Just a minute break as we connect with you right away. Keep being active as we connect with you shortly. Minute break and try to get connected back with Mr. Moses Campbell Dennis here. He is live on the conversation here, the Symbians VIP Magazine, VIP TV. Mr. Dennis, are you there live?
Oh yes, I'm here. Of course, I'm here.
Yeah. Welcome back here after the break here. Keep sharing live video. He speaks to us live from Monrovia, Liberia, my own country. This is Symbians VIP Magazine, VIP TV, a Pan-African media house with a very corporate social responsibility for connecting the entire continent on speaking of social, moral, economic, and political issues. And I remain Tony Michael Howard, taxing the responsibility of inspiring and motivating the current generation of young Africans in the actualization of their respective dreams and preaching a message of peace and national unity, as well as revitalizing the Africanization policy that speaks about good governance, social justice, democracy, human rights, and most importantly, the African unity. Mr. Dennis, you've been in Liberia since the emergence of our Ambassador George Obama. We are ascending to the seat of the presidency. Prior to ascending the seat of the presidency, most Liberians, especially young people, thought he was more or less a safe haven for the young people. To what extent is this hope and conviction be manifested in the downtrodden masses, should I say, young people in the country?
Well, thank you for that very brilliant question. I think this is a question that requires a deeper reflection. And not only that, but it requires a kind of crucial political and moral response, which I think I'm in a position to do that right now.
Okay.
But before coming to that question, addressing it directly, just allow me the latitude to try to reflect a bit on other instances linking George Weah, President Weah, to power and the rest of that.
Okay.
And to begin with that, it is actually not my wish to altogether discredit the efforts that the Weah-led government is making, or to demoralize its image in the midst of several challenges confronting the nation. But I must admit to you that I have no substantial evidence that his administration is really doing better as many expected way back or prior to his ascendancy to power. And my justification For that is to just examine the different sectors of the country, looking at the health sector, the educational sector, the legal sector, the agriculture and economic sectors, amongst others. And as you may be aware, the nation just celebrated her 173rd independence under this current regime, something which I believe requires a deeper reflection for us as a nation, as a people, especially with respect to the presidency of Ambassador George Weah. Now, in view of this, there are certain crucial political and moral questions that I think we should ask ourselves at the moment as Liberians, such as what have been our prospects or dividends as a country over the last 2.5 years of President Weah's leadership? Has his full political agenda introduced significantly impacted the political and social economic growth of Liberia? And what is our current national plan of actions? And how do we intend to achieve or execute said plan of action within the remaining 3 years of his administration? I mean, now, Tony, these are just fundamental questions that continue to surface before me as I proceed further in addressing your question. However, let me just pause here for a moment and do a flashback on the presidency of George Weah's predecessor, Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. From our experience, Madam Johnson Sirleaf took office during her first term in January 2006 after the nation's prolonged civil crisis and following the exit of her predecessor, Charles Taylor. But it is vividly understood that when Madam Sirleaf succeeded former President Taylor, she inherited a broken economy with a number of lapses in other key sectors of the country as a result of the nation's 15 years civil unrest. Understanding the need to stabilize the country as well as to get it out of other African nations in the sub-Saharan region, Madam Sirleaf continuously to improve the Liberian economy and other key sectors of the country. For instance, when former President Sirleaf and her party, the ruling Unity Party, UP, ascended to power in the nation's 2005 presidential and general elections, the country's national fiscal budget then was in the tune of US 80 million in 2006, and that grew from 80 million to US 672 million in 2012, with an annual GDP growth increase of 8.7%. Besides, during her tenure, President George Sirleaf built very strong relations with regional partners and the international community, thereby attracting investment of over US 16 billion in Liberia's mining, agriculture, forestry, and hydrocarbon sectors to provide job opportunities for our people. Our leadership led to Liberia's US 4.6 billion external debt forgiveness in June 2010. And the lifting of US trade sanctions to allow Liberia access to international markets. During this time, she also attracted over US 5 million of private resources to rebuild schools, roads, clinics, markets, and ships of capacity building, as well as the provision of other basic social needs of the citizen. However, let me not altogether ignore the fact that even though Mrs. Johnson Sirleaf served the country as president for 2 terms or 12 years, but there were a number of unfinished local and national projects led by her are being completed today by her successor, President George Weah, which I don't want to ignore. And such as the completion of the ministerial complex in the nation's capital, Monrovia, and the electrification of most parts of the country, amongst many other projects. But equivocally, is relevant to note that the nation's economy was hurt also by the Ebola outbreak in 2014.
Okay.
And the drop in the commodities growth only beginning to recover then in 2017.
Okay.
Foreign aid also to decline in 2016 with the end of the Ebola crisis, creating foreign exchange and inflationary pressure.
Okay.
Notwithstanding, one can easily or physically tell how and where the former Liberian head of state left the country prior to the ascendancy of our successor George Weah. But as I've mentioned, I do not want to put myself in a position that will allow me to discredit this current government headed by President Weah, who is a former soccer player. But I shall maintain my position that I have no substantial evidence that his government is doing better because there is absolutely nothing quite substantial to point to except the completion of the past government's political agenda, which was nearly about 80 to 90% executed.
If your assertion is true, that means that it is a huge slap in the faces of young people who thought that you were more or less a safe haven for them. Not so?
Definitely. And if you were to rationalize that more and try to romanticize it, what definitely you will come to conclude on is that, as you may be aware, President President George Weah's election as president of Liberia in January 2018 was widely hailed as a popular victory over ineffective or corrupt politics. And was the first peaceful handover of power since the end of the Liberian Civil War. He and his political party, the ruling coalition for Democratic Change, CDC, won the country's presidential election and accumulated 61.5% of the total votes of that election against the former vice president.
That is almost a landslide victory.
Definitely. And so many view that, especially the young people, as a victory for the country, and they saw it. They saw President Weah now that then as somebody who could be able to liberate the country, alluding to the fact that most Liberian youth often regard him as a young man, and also owing to his early lifestyle and where he came from his slums and the rest of it. So I mean, it was actually like a victory, and it was on that basis that he was overwhelmingly elected by the young people, who's constituted 65% of the overall population of our country. And notwithstanding, despite early signs that he will really take on bureaucratic excess and corruption, rebuild infrastructure, and drive economic development in the nation, Weah's first year in office have been preoccupied by the old guard of Liberian politics, hampered by limited resources and dodged by controversies over missing money, missing some of dollars in the country. Those continuity seems to be winning out over change. You see that? And so when President Weah seized the nation's presidency in 2018, he made a series of promises and political pronouncements that he was prepared and ready to work passionately and tirelessly to continue on the path that his predecessor left the country. And in initial fulfillment of some of his promises, he, within hours of taking over the presidency, issued an ultimatum then to outgoing government ministers and civil servants to return all government equipment, including cars, or otherwise face arrest. When he even made a pronouncement of his pay cut, and which he committed himself to doing. And in other areas like the National ID Registry was then rolling out a biometric class with an initial focus on government employees in an effort to root out ghost employees on government payroll. Such moves were applauded very strongly by the media and the public at large, and raised hopes of change in the political culture of the country. But his early actions, frankly, and populist rhetoric in the direction of politics, demands of managing an entrenched political class and a political system designed to defend their privilege. We are currently surrounded, as many see, is currently surrounded by people linked to past corruption and mismanagement with past directly or indirectly.
Let me inject this cleverly to get your own point there. You've given a comparative analysis of Ellen Johnson's slave leadership, then down to George Kupamana we are currently. What would you attribute these lapses from Ambassador Weah's government to? Is it that we've got square peg and round holes? Is it that we've got wrong people in good positions or good people in wrong position? Or is it an entire clique designed to rape the nations of our natural resources without having a commensurate development for its masses? What can you attribute all of these lapses to?
There you go, and that's exactly what the situation is. Remember, Niccolo Machiavelli once said, and I quote, the first method of estimating the intelligence of any leader is to examine the people the leader has around.
Yeah, the Italian philosopher says it.
That's exactly with the case of Liberia. You have people who participated greatly in the Liberian Civil War, who caused problems for this country. Some of them are still working in government, and they are surrounded. The lack of Prince Johnson is one of those, and he's one of the key figures now in the country. And I mean, on many instances, Senator Johnson, who's now a senator from Nema County, will prevail or impose on the president when, as regards to appointing some of his kinsmen in government, simply because he has or pledged support to Ambassador Weah during the 2017
but
election.
Mr. Moses, when you speak of Prince Johnson surrounding himself with the presidency, I think a huge blame should be going to electorates of Nema County who has felt that he is their best man for the job from a senatorial point of view, because this is an elected position for Prince Johnson. So Ambassador Weah has entirely nothing to do with some of the decisions that he makes as private individual under the Senate.
The thing is that we are not just looking at this at a country level, we are looking at it at a national level.
Are you saying in essence, apart from his primary responsibility of being with the upper house in terms of making policies that should have a positive trickle-down effect on the masses, he has some element of influence over the presidency currently? Is that what you're saying to me?
Certainly.
Because what tangible should I say, or substantial justifications or indication you can point out right now in the nation to justify your statement that Prince Johnson has some element of influence over the presidency currently?
Definitely. As you may be aware, the 2017 presidential and legislative election ended up with a runoff election, which Johnson pledges support to Ambassador Weah, and to extent he sees that as an influence, and where he will go to the president, propose his ideologies, and obviously the president rejected it, and because of that, they went into an agreement that if I pledge my support to you, Ambassador Weah, immediately after the election, you should be able to seek my interest, and that's exactly how a lot of people see it. And Senator Johnson.
Is that not an assumption from you, sir?
It is not. It is definitely not an assumption. I'm not assuming.
Okay.
It is something that everybody in this country who knows the reality can be able to attest to, and we can confirm that.
Okay.
And simply because it's involvement, he's been seen with the president at one point in time, even before the runoff election, he traveled with the president to Nigeria in Prophet T.B. Johnson Church.
Okay.
The Senegal nations. And I wish, I mean, it is not something very new or very strict or peculiar that people are aware. And even in Nimba, before the runoff election, he publicly declared support. He took Ambassador Weah, the president, to Nimba County, where he told all of his fellow kinsmen that he should join Ambassador Weah and support him for the presidency. So on that basis, anyone could easily infer that it's because of that support he pledged to Ambassador Weah that he has an influence. So today, I mean, well, to some extent, President Weah will have to pay back to him. So it. And besides that, because of that, even at the moment, Ambassador Weah is even supporting a candidate that is being fielded now in Limba County for the senatorial election, in person of Jeremiah Cole.
Okay.
Yeah, so that is a very clear indication. Support, Prince Johnson is pledging support, and also coming from the president. So that's an indication that, I mean, to some extent, they work with him. And beyond that, there are other people who work alongside with the president. The lack of Samuel Toy.